Hello, friends. This is Raj Kapoor, and today I'm going to bring you a special guest, really, really special guest, my friend Joakim. And what you're going to learn, what you're going to get from him today is worth its weight in gold. I'm just telling you, because he has created a nonprofit and made it really, really successful. And that is what we are going to talk about today with him. He is an entrepreneur. He actually started this nonprofit called Safer Sweden quite some time ago. And from there on, he has had many businesses. And currently, he has started a project which is called Cubimo. And we are going to talk about that later, not today, because I'm going to have Joachim here many times, and I know you're going to love him on this platform. Because what he's going to bring to you is not only information as to how he did it, but also a platform which is going to be free for you, my friends. And on that platform, we will talk how you can actually cultivate, create your own community, create your own business for your nonprofit, and how you can impact people. But that's later. Today's talk is going to be on the nonprofit that he had created. Why did he create it? How did he make it so successful? What was the entrepreneurial journey he had behind it? So why don't we talk to Joachim about it? But first, I would like my friend Joachim to actually introduce himself and just talk a little bit about himself. And then we will talk about Safer Sweden, the nonprofit that he started. Joachim, welcome, my friend.
Thank you very much, Raj. It is great to be here with you today, and it's great to be with you, the listener of this show. And like Raj was saying, we do have some great content that we will be going through. And Raj, I started my first business back in 1999 when I was 19 years old. So I've been an entrepreneur, you could say, for 20 plus years, but probably I've been an entrepreneur since I was born, because it's really the only thing I ever thought about is how to take an idea and turn it into reality. And I remember when I was 12, I wrote that down actually on a piece of paper. How much is an idea worth? And I know the truth. I know the answer to that question today, and we can talk about that. But the main part is, how do you turn an idea into reality? And that's what I was doing, and that's what I've been doing. That's what I love to do, and I don't know of anything else that I would rather do.
Oh, isn't that wonderful? And I have been through entrepreneurial journey myself, and I have been in jobs too. And I can tell everyone that once you start that entrepreneurial journey, the satisfaction that you get from it, what you become out of it, is very different. Job is great, no question. It is safe and everything has a place. But if you are going in and starting some business, nonprofit maybe, and you have that passion, you have that vision, you have that idea of that mission, you will work tirelessly. Because why? Because as an entrepreneur, it dims the line between work and play. You do not know where work ends and where play begins. And that's what I love about entrepreneurship. But I would like to ask you today, Joachim, is what led you to create Safer Sweden?
So that started with very one of those things that you wish never would have happened. I was walking home one evening back in 2005. I'm going back a few years with this one, and I was going back with one of my closest friends and my girlfriend at the time from a night on the town. We had had a good time, and two other people were out to have the opposite of a good time. I guess they were looking for somebody to fight, and they saw me, and for some reason I fit, the profile that they were looking for. And this wasn't, a fight where two people were involved and they were fighting and then there was results. No, these people, they attacked me, and I've never thrown a punch at anyone before this or after, nor will I ever do that. It's just not in my nature. It's not how I think. It's not what I do. And I never even have that idea, in a situation like the one that I found myself in back in 2005. So, anyways, they knocked me to the ground. I fell over, and when I stood back up, they had left. My previous girlfriend was screaming all over the place, and my friend was standing just next to me, just like this. He looked all white, looked like a ghost almost. And I said to him, "Are you okay?" Because he had some blood on his jacket, and I didn't know exactly what had happened. But it turned out that was my blood that had splattered over from me over to him, because my nose was not broken, it was crushed, and my zygmatic bone under the eye was broken in two places,
Oh my
and some
God.
other parts of the face were broken. So that's how that got started.
Oh my God, that is a terrible way. But again, let's see in the big picture. That incident led you to create Safer Sweden, a nonprofit, which was to create safety in Sweden, right?
Mhm. Mhm.
So
Yes, it
what did
was.
you do? What did you do to create it? So that is how it started. But what did you do? Why did, because see, this is what I believe, Joakim. Many people are attacked,
Mhm.
but not everybody starts something,
Yeah,
which is to help others. So you
right.
have that heart,
Mm.
giver.
Yeah, well, so heart is certainly part of it, because I really I landed on the idea, that if I could do something that would help just one other person have a better experience when something like this happens to them, then at least I could find some meaning in what had happened to me. But really, before I landed on that, really my thinking begun, when I was in the hospital. I was going in for surgery a few days after this had happened. And I was just thinking, what is this? What's happening? It didn't feel real to me. And what I understood later was that really what they stole from me was my feeling of safety or feeling secure, just walking home, an evening. I had never thought of being attacked before this had happened. And they stole that from me. And I was really thinking about that when I was in the hospital, and I was upset. And I was thinking, this is not the way that it should be. And that's one. And the second thing was, well, okay, so it happened, but at least now that it happened, I'll receive some help. But it turned out I didn't receive much help. There was no real project leader that could step in and say, oh, do this, think of these things, and here's how to recover in a good way, and remember these practical aspects of it, or anything like that. That didn't happen. So that was the second thing that really led me to being upset, and just not, I was just not happy with what had happened or what happened after it happened either. So all of those things went into the idea that if I could do something about this situation to make it better, just for one person, like I said, then I could find some meaning in what had happened. And that's how the organization got started.
Wonderful. So, friends, as I have been talking to you for quite some time, that why is more important than how. And you saw the strong why that Joachim had, which led him to create this organization. The why was so strong. And that is why you have to first look at what your why is. Why are you doing what you are doing? Why? Because if your why becomes really, really strong, I'm telling you, you can do anything, anything. Whatever mission you are on, you can accomplish it as long as your why is very strong. So let's go from the why to the how. How did you create it? Because people would like to know the why, I understand, but how did you do it? What
Yes.
was what was it that you did that made it successful?
Mhm. Well, so really what I did is I just started calling people and talking to people. And that's what I recommend, that anyone with an idea, start talking about the idea, start talking to people. And, a lot of people say, well, my idea is a secret. I can't talk about it. And I usually say that, well, maybe you don't have to call up your immediate competition and tell them about your new great plan or idea. But if it's so secret that you can't talk to anyone about it, it's going to be difficult to turn it into any type of business or a nonprofit or any type of organization. So I would say talk to people, and that's certainly what I did. I talked to everyone, anyone and everyone that I could find, and that included the media. I reached out to the media. I told them what happened. I did that even before going into the hospital. So there was actually a reporter in the hospital asking me about what had happened. And I kept doing that. I kept talking to the media. I kept calling anyone and everyone that I could think of, people in the government, people in various organizations, and also just anyone that I could find to kind of get a grasp of, what are their thoughts about this. And the thing with action is that once you begin taking action, one step will lead to the next step. It's like that saying where, if you're out in the dark and you're driving your car, you can see the distance that your headlights will light up for you, and that's how far you can drive. But once you get to that place, obviously you will see more and you can go further. And that's really how it works. So the more people I talked to, the more they said, well, you should talk to this person or you should talk to that person. And after a while, I was connected to a lot of really good people within this field who understood the field, people who were doing research, and people within government, and within the police and within different organizations, who all said, what happened to you also happens to other people, not just the experience that night when you were attacked, but also what you're describing afterwards, where you're not receiving any specific type of information or help for how to move on. So one thing led to another. I called people, I talked to them, I got in touch with more people, and then I applied entrepreneurship to the challenge. And that's really what entrepreneurship is. It's about adding value and solving challenges or problems. And that's what I did. I applied entrepreneurship.
Amazing story, man. Amazing. Just love it as to see how. And again, I have been saying that for a long time. I'll say it again. Nothing happens without action.
Mm.
The best of the plans, the best and best of the plans can be laying there if you don't take action. Plans are plans. You need to act on it. And number two, you don't have to be 100% ready before you take action, because you will never be 100% ready ever. That I know for myself. Many times I have not taken action in my younger days because I was like, let me perfect this plan to 100%. And by the time you do it, either the passion is gone or something happens. And so the main thing is, even if you are half there, 1/4 there, you should start taking action. Things start happening. Momentum starts building. And you saw how Joakim just said that's what happened. So another thing, what are some of the biggest challenges and how did you overcome them? Because I know there have to be challenges with some new project that you start.
Yeah, for sure. And I couldn't agree more with what you just said. Action has genius and power in it. It really does. But it also leads to challenges, of course, because not everybody is going to say, oh, what a wonderful idea. Let's do that immediately and then move into action. In fact, probably most people will say, are you crazy or what are you doing? And that will never work. Go back to what you were doing before. And so these are the naysayers, and probably anyone who has ever accomplished anything have heard the naysayers, but then decided to ignore the naysayers. And I believe that's what you need to do. Essentially ignore the naysayers. That doesn't mean, okay, so there's a difference between being persistent and being stubborn. Being persistent is you're moving in a direction, you know what you want to do, but you also listen to good feedback and you sort of adjust along the way to make things better, and you measure by your results if you're moving forwards or not. That's being persistent. You're moving forwards in a clever way. Being stubborn is doing moving forwards, thinking that your ideas are the only ideas that will ever accomplish anything. You're not listening to anybody, and you keep trying the same old thing, even though it does not create the results that you're looking for, and you keep doing them anyways. That's being stubborn. That's not what we're talking about here. Be persistent, ignore the naysayers, but also balance that with listening to the good feedback, and you'll find the balance. But anyways, that's certainly what I did. And a good example is that, you know, we were in a conference room. We were maybe 35 people in the room, people from all over local, like government, local organizations of various kinds who were in this field. The conference was held in the police station, the main police station for the city where I lived in Uppsala, north of Stockholm, Sweden, where I live and where I'm from.
Nice, nice.
And one of representatives for the local municipality there, after everything had been said and done, she said, "You can't do this because various reasons, and also there are people who already work with this, and you'll be stepping on their toes." And the room went quiet, and everybody looked at me, and I said, "Well, I respect you. But while you are worried about people's toes being stepped on, last night somebody else was attacked, and we want to help them. So I don't care so much about anybody's toes, if you'll forgive me." And that's just the kind of attitude you have to have. You know, sometimes people will say, "No, no, don't do it," for various reasons. Forget that. Do it anyways. And then also I would say the second thing is create credibility. Find good partners who can work with you, who have credibility already, or find various ways to build credibility into what you are doing. That's an important piece.
That's really, really important to understand for most people. Who specifically, I get a lot of messages from my group where people are asking, they have just started a nonprofit, how should they head, what should they do? So what you are telling, I think, is going to be really, really important, not only for them, but people who are already in business and they want to get it to a different level. That credibility is a must, and collaboration. Two things, very important. So how are you able to get the funds for the organization? Because most of the people right now are struggling with funds, and they want to know how to raise funds for that, because that is one of the big things I'm seeing across the world, where most of the nonprofits are struggling because they're not able to find sources of money. And that is the number one thing that they are looking for.
Yeah, and so that's a very good question, and it's obviously very, very important because, you know, money is used for certain things, and there's nothing that can take its place. There's no replacement for money, and the things that it's used for, money is the only thing that can be used for those things. So, and everyone knows this, but sometimes, especially in nonprofits, at least in my experience, having worked with other nonprofits in Sweden, money can be a complicated subject, and some people don't want to talk about money. I don't know why exactly they don't want to talk about it, but they just don't want to talk about it. They feel perhaps uncomfortable or whatever it is. And so I suggest get very comfortable talking about money. You're not robbing anyone else out of their money if you're setting up a business-like organization, if you think about business when you do your nonprofit at all. It's become comfortable with it and realize that money is like electricity or gasoline in your car. You can have a great car. If there's no energy in it, you won't go anywhere with it. And so we need to be comfortable with that. And one of the things that we did to create the financial opportunities with the nonprofit was, again, we thought about it in an entrepreneurial way. And so we deliberately moved away from being funded by the state or, you know, the government or grants of different kinds. I'm not saying that these are bad ideas. I know a lot of nonprofits are funded that way, and that's fine. But it's just not what we did. So to share our experience, what we did, we moved away from that and we applied entrepreneurship. And when you do that, you think about it in terms of what's the value that we can provide to the market, whether that be customers or sponsors or other people with interest in what we will be providing. And so for us, it was many of the larger corporations, organizations in Sweden, they chose to sponsor us, and they chose to do that for very specific reasons. And we told them the story. We told them what this was all about. We told them why it was needed, and that we were going to help people in this specific situation. And they found it wise for their organization to be part of that message. And so they paid for that. That's the exchange for being part of it. That's what money does. So that's how we funded it.
Wow, that is wonderful. Because I always say I have been associated with nonprofits for over 30 years, worked in few, consulted with many. And one of the things from a financial perspective, because I was working as a chief financial officer, was that you need to have multiple streams of income. And reliance just on government funds is not enough. Until and unless you're a very large corporation where government gives you a lot of money. But when the government changes, it could have its implications.
Yeah.
And that is why self-sustaining nonprofits and the way, or at least have a revenue stream coming in, which can self-sustain it. Sustainability is really important. And if you're able to sustain a nonprofit, and money is an important integral part of it, obviously, without that you can't do it. So your ideas was that's excellent. Many people can take their own business right now and find the sponsors. You just have to find the right people who are going to be investing in your mission. And there are people out there. You need to do some good PR. Most important, which I have actually shared in our group here, how to weave your story. Because stories is what actually gets people involved. Many times, that's why I say when I get so many people asking me for consulting and questioning me, they're like, how do I reach my potential donors? And my answer is just because you're doing a great job, a great mission, it doesn't mean that the other person are automatically going to be involved. If you have a strong story, not only your story, but of the story, again, of the people you are working with, what impact you have made, those are the things that are going to get the people in with you. Look, that was just wonderful. So now I know you're not associated with that organization because you have moved on to bigger and other things. But how is the organization doing right now? What is it? Where is it right now?
Yeah, no, it's doing well. It's Safe for Sweden is doing well. I left the board of directors because after a few years, I had sort of done everything that I could do as an entrepreneur with, creating the organization and doing the groundwork, setting the story, like you just said, and making sure that it was running. And we figured out how to run it. And like you also said, multiple income streams. We had a couple of different things going. And I gathered experts, people from around the country writing books, researchers, all of these people, many of them are involved in the organization. And so after a while, I said, very good, keep going, keep developing, and keep me informed. And I'd love to come to your meetings at times. But my thing, what I do as an entrepreneur is completed. And so I left the board, and but they're working, they're doing it, and they're in the news from time to time. I see them. They write new reports. They are asked for advice sometimes by large corporations when they're developing a new residential zone and how to plan the buildings to make sure that they keep burglars out, and their strategies for doing that. They're asked for advice sometimes by governments. They're interviewed when something happens. It's an incident, a larger incident, for example. So they're doing well, and I'm happy to see their progress and everything. That's how they're helping people is really what they're doing.
Isn't it so gratifying to see what you started is doing so wonderfully, and what came from a actually tragic situation has become such a wonderful place, which is helping so many people. I commend you for that, Joakim. That's wonderful what you did. And friends, I really hope that you took things that Joakim has said. Because if you talk to someone who has already has had success Then you can get ideas from that success, how they did it. Because many people will give you ideas who have not done anything. But person who has done it, their ideas carry a lot of weight, a lot of value. And that is why I had to bring him here on this platform. But that is not the only thing. Right now, what Joakim is doing is he has created a new platform, which is called Cubimo. I'm a part of it, actually. I'm a part of it. I have my programs on there. And so that is something which we spoke about. If we can bring this platform to our community, our nonprofit edge community, because this is a worldwide platform. Can you give in brief? I'm not going to go over in detail today because that's a separate talk that I want to bring in. And one thing before I forget, that's what I want to say it is, we are also planning on choosing 5 nonprofits who we are going to help bring on Cubimo and help their business fully establish on Cubimo. For that, we will be bringing in sooner. I mean, we are just planning it right now as to how we are going to choose. We are going to set up an application where the organizations which have a need will fill in, and we will choose 5 of them, and we will guide them to set up their business. And everything is for free. We are not charging anything here because over here we are trying to help the nonprofits, and we'll talk about more about the money streams and how it is being used. But what I would like you to do is to give me a brief version of Cubimo.
Yes, and Cubimo was founded really based on the insight that all over the world, there's so many great people who have great ideas, and they may feel that they are, left out, or they don't know what the next step is for how to turn that idea into reality. And just going back to my own years when I got started, I had questions all the time. And I also have the good fortune of being the next door neighbor to a chief financial officer of one of the more successful mid-sized companies in Sweden. And he helped me. And a lot of people helped me and through networks and other ways. I did not build the different businesses that I've built myself by any stretch of the imagination. People helped me. And so, but I realized that they were also close to me and I could ask them for advice. And if that's not the case, if you don't know who to ask, if you don't have the network, if you don't, know where to go, then turning an idea into reality is not easy. And growing a company or growing an NGO, a nonprofit organization, is not easy. So Cubimo was founded for that reason and that reason alone. And that's all that we're focused on. We want to help entrepreneurs, we want to help organizations and nonprofit organizations grow what they are doing, meaning take the value that they are focused on and bring it to more people in the world.
Wow, that is just wonderful. And I have used the platform. I've used this extensively. There are a lot of other friends that I have who have used it. And it is very powerful. Just to let you know that it's a profit sharing platform, just to tell you upfront, that means there are no costs upfront at all. And the only time a payment is done is if you are able to sell something. And a portion of that goes back to Cubimo. And we are working with Joakim on that as to what that portion or that percentage is, which we will be bringing to you soon. So stay tuned, friends. Stay tuned, because this is big. And by big, I mean big. Because if you get on this platform, you do not even know what you can do, imagine. Because it's an evolving platform. And once you get at the inception stage, just think when you're there with hundreds and thousands of people across the world looking into it, the audience just becomes big. Idea can be taken from this level to a level which you couldn't even have imagined. So that's what we are going to bring. So stay tuned for that. But right now I'm going to close. And Joakim, thank you so much. Really, really, really appreciate for you to be here. Anything that you would like to give some final tips on nonprofit edge viewers, members, participants who are embarking on this journey?
Yeah, I would say build a tribe. And by tribe, I mean group of people, or community is a different word for the same thing. Build your community of people who are really engaged in the thing that you want to do, in the mission of your organization. So find like-minded people, or people who are for various reasons engaged in what you do, and make it easy for them to find each other, to communicate with each other, to collaborate, and to work together with coming up with new ideas and new things to do to advance your cause, to move your thing forwards. And that is actually one of the things that you can do with Cubimo. And I look forward to coming back, Raj, to your show and to be with you again, and we can go through what that looks like. But the possibilities with that, when you allow your own people to come up with ideas and to work with them, like you said, Raj, there is really no limit to where you can go. And you mentioned the word imagination, and I believe it was Albert Einstein who said that knowledge will take us from A to B, but imagination will take us everywhere.
Yeah. Well, I really thank you. I think this has been a really wonderful experience for me to learn all about you and where you are going and how it can help this community and what we are going to bring to everyone. So, everyone, stay tuned. This is Raj Kapoor, present here for your better future. And I'll be coming back with Joakim very soon. So, take care. Have an amazing week.